Hi there and welcome to the latest edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast, the independent Rangers podcast, which is brought to you by fans for fans and where the content is free. And of course, it's the podcast of the champions these days, and it has been for 4 weeks. 4 weeks. You know what I mean? Well, the clocks have just went forward and we've been champions for 4 weeks already. How good is that? As I say every week, guys, it's not just the pod we have here at Gersnet. We've got forums, articles, match previews, reviews, stuff like that. There's a history archive on the website, so get yourself over to the Gersnet website as soon as you can. If this is the first time you've listened to the pod, we'd ask you to subscribe, put the word out there on social media to what we're doing. We're live tonight. It's a Friday night. We're doing a quick preview on the game on Sunday. It seems like ages since Rangers have played. But we're back on Sunday against Cove Rangers, so we'll have a quick look at that game, plus a couple of the bits and bobs that have been happening today. And just before we came on air with news about Rangers appealing the ban on the players that were involved in the sort of COVID stuff. So we're live tonight. It's a Friday night, but the pod will be available to download and stream on a variety of platforms as always from tomorrow. Acast, iTunes, YouTube, Castbox, all those places where you get your pods, guys. The usual places, as I say, every week, my usual gumph. So now to bring in my guest for tonight, it is Alex Anderson, and it is his Rangers' birthday today. How are you, Alex?
Yes, I'm fine, thanks, Colin. I'd just like to use the Gersnet pod to apologise to everybody.
An official apology.
An official apology who hadn't actually seen me before, obviously hadn't met me and thought I genuinely was 44 today.
You look 44.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
Not a day over 43, I would say.
They probably thought I'd put in 64 by mistake because my brain's gone with it as well. No, it was 44 years ago today I went to my first Rangers match. So I always give myself a week kind of 2nd of April every year. Beat Hibs 2-1, 1977. And I'd put that up on Twitter as happy birthday to me, and a lot of very nice people out there who hadn't actually took it literally. You know what I mean? So thanks for the birthday wishes, but if only I was 44. You know, how's things yourself anyway, mate?
No, not bad. It feels like I've not seen your ages actually. I had a wee break for the pod, so it feels like I've not seen a lot of you for ages. So how you doing?
Not too bad. I just think.
How did you enjoy the title one?
I'll tell you when I can remember what happened. I think I come on the pod on the Sunday night, and then the next kind of 24 hours are like a blur, just an alcoholic haze. It was fantastic, mate, fantastic. And it's today sitting outside. I don't know. It's like through your way if the sun's out, but
sun is out. It's a bit cold though. It's a wee bit fresh. I must admit. I got my back garden done today. I must admit. I had a wee sort of a health issue with one of my family members, and it happened on the night we won it. So I was out and about celebrating, and I came back, and it sort of killed it a wee bit. Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. It was at the time. It's fine now. But I was going, how am I going to celebrate this? Because it's kind of been the fun was sucked out of it a wee bit. So I got my back garden done today, and the invite's going out to a few mates for the 15th when we get presented. So I'll be giving it large then. So the garden's looking good. I'm very chuffed with the job the guy's done today. I just need to get the sashes up and the flags and all that kind of stuff. Get my bowler hat on. White gloves.
What you've got to do, the best one I saw on Twitter was the guy who'd get the wee hoopie, the huddle hound, and put it onto a rocket.
Yeah, and shot it to the sky. Aye. I'll do something like that.
Really funny.
So the champagne, we'd bought a bottle of Moët, me and my boy. It never got touched that night. So it's sitting there in the chiller, ready to go for the 15th when we get presented. So looking forward to it. Aye. So now we've got the sort of formalities out the way. On to tonight, Alex. First things first, before we go on, I thought we would look at, there's been a few things. Obviously, Alan McGregor signed a new deal. Certainly worth talking about. Stephen Davis, just yet again, he just shows how wonderful and brilliant he is with, breaking the Caps record. Thought we'd have a wee chat about that. But just before we came on air, it was sort of announced, it's just came out that Rangers have appealed the 6-match ban against Nathan Patterson, Zungu, Calvin Bassey, and a couple of the younger boys. Quite an interesting one. And we were talking about this before we came on air. There has been a level of inconsistency when it comes to dishing out punishments to clubs for COVID infringements. One particular one involving a trip to Dubai springs to mind. I don't recall seeing any punishment for that as of yet. So it kind of feels that the club are there maybe been a bit political here. It means that the players in question are still available until the appeal gets heard. But I do also think the club are saying, wait a minute here, what's going on with, there is inconsistent bans being handed out when it comes to this thing. So I think the club are quite right here.
I think if they want to appeal it, they should really have gone through the proper process, which is to have Steven Gerrard going on live on television first thing on Monday and doing a lot of air quotes, and just saying jolly a lot, and that'd be it. Nothing will happen. Full disclosure, we're talking before we come on air, as you say, and I've lost track of how these things are punished. I've even lost track of my own potential bitterness. When should I be upset at how they're punished? Because I can't see any consistency at all. I think the football authorities have perhaps understandably not really known how to deal with this. As a pandemic, footballers, I've always been quite keen to see how footballers are actually putting themselves out there. They're going out and they're providing entertainment after a fashion sometimes, but they're keeping us occupied. The whole country's in lockdown for most of the last year. The guys are going out there and they're, strictly speaking, like bin men, like teachers, like nurses, they're going out there and they're risking their life, strictly speaking, while this pandemic's been about. But if you're going to start dishing out the bans, you've really got to be consistent with it. And it's all over the place. And I think Rangers are absolutely spot on to appeal it. I think we're going to talk maybe about Tavernier, how he's not quite back yet, and maybe we're getting to that point where we're needing Nathan Patterson, and there's no harm in using the system, putting an appeal in there, getting it delayed, so we can use Nathan while Tav's coming back. But I don't really know how anybody. I don't really know how you can dish out a ban to anybody with everything that's happened this season or not happened, as you're saying, in respect of Celtic's trip to Dubai is obviously the most kind of heavily publicised one. And as I was saying to you before, was it St Mirren and Motherwell?
Was it Kilmarnock? Was it no Kilmarnock?
Was it?
Yeah, I'm sure it was St Mirren. Well, they got initial punishments handed out, and then they appealed them.
Aye.
And then the situation with Celtic and Dubai happened, and there was no punishment handed out to Celtic for that. And so the appeals that Motherwell, I'm sure it was Kilmarnock, put in were successful, and they had those initial bans, rescinded. And there was the issue with who's the Celtic fullback that's away to Germany now? What's his name? Frimpong. He had some lassie over. Friends. With benefits probably, right? Jolly. So he's got some lassie over from New York, and put her up in his pad for a couple of weeks. And again, no punishment. So, I mean, if there was consistency in this, I think Rangers would be of a mind to say, well, they've been caught red-handed. Let's just accept the punishment. I think the major reason that Rangers are appealing this year is because of the inconsistencies that we're seeing with other clubs, and I would like to think they've got a strong case. I've said that before, and we'll see. No doubt, we'll see the footballing authorities find a way to double down and hammer us even more. But yeah, it's quite interesting. I think Rangers are quite right to do this, but a quite interesting sort of development tonight.
Well, I don't think you can really accuse us. Anybody can accuse us of not being hard on the players involved. And apart from anything else, I think we at Rangers and at Celtic, well, the way Celtic have dealt with it, obviously, it's just completely OTT defensiveness. And, well, Lennon was at the head of that, and he's away now. But Rangers have castigated. I mean, Jones and Edmondson are kind of gone from Rangers. Maybe coming back, but they'll kind of put out the door. It was obviously related to that. And Stevie G was very hard on all the players involved in the kind of the Hayburn Lane get together, whatever was happening there. Don't read the tabloids, that kind of stuff. But the whole country's watching Nathan Patterson. And the minute Tavernier was injured against Royal Antwerp, the whole BT Sports commentary team. Oh, how must Nathan Patterson be feeling? How must Nathan Patterson feel? There's a kind of social punishment has gone on. A punishment through the media. So I think they're quite right, Rangers, to start kind of taking it up with the authorities.
We'll see how that. No doubt we'll be talking about it in the next sort of couple of weeks, and then when it plays out. But an interesting development tonight. Alan McGregor, Alex, I think we've ran out of things to say about him, really. I mean, I think there was a feeling on the show a wee bit of concern that there had been no announcement so far in terms of a new deal, but announced through the week there an extension, a year's extension. You'd have to say it's well deserved. He's formed this season. I mean, if I'm going to be, a little bit critical of him, I thought, in the game, the game against Prague, I thought the 2 goals at Ibrox he could have maybe done a wee bit better with. But you're being hyper picky if you're going down that road. You know what I mean? Because his form this season has just been outstanding. You know what I mean? He is the sort of foundation of that team, and I think a year. I think he's got more than a year in him, and I think he thoroughly deserves this contract.
Well, when somebody's kind of moved into God status, when the first thing you're doing, like I was with the 2 goals we conceded at home to Slavia, I'm thinking, I see the first one. I think what's happened there is Griggs. He's like one of these strikers who gets punished because he gets near the ball. He's done so well to get near it that it looks like it's a bad save. And then the second one, I'm like, that boy beat him at the other post in the first leg, so he's obviously covering the other post. I thought, it might have been bad with the 2 goals. He might have been a bit liable. But the one thing with McGregor is, he'll be the first guy to castigate himself for doing that.
His standards are so high. That's
it, mate. And I think that it's not even the, in fact, we're having an argument. We're having an ongoing argument. The whole of Rangers Twitter, everybody in Rangers. What's the greatest save you've ever seen? And it's 2 McGregor saves we've been talking about for since that save in Prague. It's the fact that when we drew 1 each at Hamilton, that post-match interview, for a club like ourselves, for a support like ourselves, who've been worried. Did our club kind of disappear a bit? What was going to happen after 2012? To see that just embodying everything that we love about Rangers, no looking to blame the media, no looking to do air quotes to get away for your own feelings, just blaming yourself and having no mercy in your own players, and you knew that if that's what he was saying to the media, God knows what he was saying when he got back in that dressing room.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny, Steve Davis and McGregor, both signing their contract extensions this week. And the 2 of them, is that Werder Bremen game way back in 2008. Stevie D gets his first goal, against Werder Bremen at home in that UEFA Cup game, and then over in Bremen. I still can't help thinking that one was slightly better. That save from Naldo. Because I couldn't even. I know you're saying it, and you made a great case. I heard it, and I think you're probably actually right. I think that aesthetically though, that one in Bremen, I thought it was in the back of the net. I just thought it was in. I thought the guy had missed it. I thought he'd put it straight onto the bar. It's when you only.
Yeah, I think the guy puts it slightly back towards McGregor. And I think that, and I'm not denying that it's a great save. It's similar to that. There's a famous save in one of the FA Cup finals that Sunderland. 74, 73,
Montgomery.
It's similar to that. He gets his hand to it, puts it onto the bar. Don't get me wrong, it's an incredible save. And as the ball, I've said this to my son, as the ball goes across the face of goal, like 3 or 4 Rangers players, you see them, you know what I mean? They're like, the minute this boy meets us, it's in. But I think the reason I'll go with the save a couple of weeks ago is I just think that the guy just puts it slightly back across towards McGregor. Whereas I think that guy the other week there put it exactly where he wanted to put it. And McGregor kept it with his pinky. You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable. It's surreal. You know what I mean?
It's unbelievable. The thing is, mate, it's great that we're all arguing about it. And Andy Gorham, for me, Andy Gorham became not just the greatest goalkeeper I've ever seen. And I have to mention, good friend of the show, Alan Aikman, good pal of mine out there. And he's always first to say he thinks Chris Woods is still the best Rangers goalkeeper he's ever seen. And it's just, I can't really heavily disagree with him either. Woods was the first kind of real. I grew up in the kind of Stuart Kennedy, Peter McCloy era. Woods was the first kind of proper goalie,
proper goalkeeper.
Yeah, Peter McCloy's an absolute legend. So I don't mean disrespect to the Girvan Lighthouse, but Chris Woods, I saw him, at the end of his career. Big Peter, a lovely man as well. But Chris Woods was just, something else. He's kind of world class. But Gorham for me was actually became like my favourite Ranger. Full stop. Just because he didn't even look like a goalie. He just looked like, what he was a few times, a guy who just rolled out his bed, he was phenomenal. But I think it's actually got to the stage now, Alan McGregor, when you consider the couple of saves we're arguing about, what he's doing on a consistent basis.
It's consistency.
It's the length of service now as well. I know it's been broken up, obviously, going to Hull and what have you, but the time he's been here and the pivotal nature of that last title win and the part he played in it, I think he's now, for me, he's the best Rangers goalkeeper I've seen. So it's an absolute, it's a pleasure to have him, and it's great just to have him about the club. He's a fantastic influence in the club.
Yeah, I think he's a good link to, previous dressing rooms. Him and Davis, who we're about to speak to, they're a good link to previous dressing rooms that bring that. Because that was always my biggest fear when we went down the leagues. You're ripping that winning mentality right out the club. You know what I mean? And then you're just putting jobs worth in there. Guys that are just going to get you back to the top tier. But when you get back to that top tier, you don't have that winning mentality anymore because that's been lost over the last 3 or 4 years. So I think those two are vitally important for Rangers, and I think that's why Gerrard brought them here. On Stephen Davis, 126 caps. That's him. He's broke Peter Shilton's record of 125. He's now he's won the most caps out of the sort of home nations players, and he didn't need to pump Tina in a car to do it. You know what I mean? Like Peter Shilton, he had these wee dodgy moments here and there. An outstanding servant, and I don't think we really appreciate how good a player he is, and I don't think we really will appreciate how good a player he is until he's not there anymore.
No, I think, and it's segued really nicely in with his winning 55. You have this; it's an honour for the club as well as for Stephen Davis himself. First and foremost, an honour for Stephen Davis, but it's fantastic for the club, to have. I'm not getting down the whole road of Rangers being, the quintessential British club or whatever like that. I think we're essentially a massively Scottish club, but to have the number one cap holder in Britain playing for us, and for it to happen a few weeks after, we've won 55 is absolutely lovely. And I think if anybody, nobody at Rangers, nobody who's watched Rangers this season can be any doubt what Stephen Davis has provided, but if you're thinking because he's now 36, he's maybe not getting about the park the same. You should watch the last 10 minutes of that game against Livingston at Almond Vale, the Tony Macaroni, when we really, the night we kind of put one hand in the trophy. Watch it from about 3 minutes before we actually score the goal, and Stephen Davis lays on yet another chance for, we're worried Alfredo was going to have one of those nights. He lays on a chance for Alfredo that he has a shot. Alfie, the keeper saves easily. Should have put more into it. It's about 83 minutes or something like that. Watch it. Steve Davis makes that happen. He's got all over the place to get the shot for Alfie. And if you watch the next 3 minutes up until we actually score, it's a thing of beauty. He's in defence. He's in attack. Every ball, he's just probing. He is just relentlessly probing until we get this goal. He's
should have scored though.
He should have scored. That's what I think. It kind of ties up with it ties up with that. The first night he did score for us back in 2008. Big Daniel Kuzan shot, and then the goalkeeper Tim Visa, he couldn't hold it for Bremen, and the Stevie D of old is in there, and he's scoring into the Govan past a Tim, and then you're thinking all these years later he's actually putting the shot in. And it's Alfie that's getting the rebound. But if you just watch the build, everything he's doing, he's putting balls forward. Defenders are trying to play balls in to Alfie, and they get knocked straight back to us. Stevie D's putting balls in that are more dangerous, and he's in for the second ball. When it doesn't work, he's in picking it up again, and he's just probing. It's forensic. And again, so he puts the shot in that the keeper can't hold, and Alfie puts it away. And you just see his two wee arms going up in the air. Yeah. Totally, Alfie blanks him, but it's just the total. Do you know
something? His arms go up in the air before Alfie scores.
Aye.
You know what I mean? It's when the keeper makes a save and it goes across the face of the goal. He realises, he's a class act. And the thing about him and McGregor, I think, is I think they've got. McGregor certainly got more than a year in him. The way he's going at the moment. And you would have to say the same about Stephen Davis. There doesn't seem to be any signs that they're slowing down.
No, there's the thing about Stephen Davis is there's been times this season, it's kind of halfway through the season, I felt as if him and Big Conor Golson were becoming like it was like a body shock, kind of teen body shock Hollywood film where they were suddenly changing personality. The goal we scored against St Mirren in the League Cup, Big Conor's gliding through the middle, beating a couple of guys and putting it in the bottom corner. That was pure Steve Davis. But there's times where Stephen Davis is coming back so far. It's because he does it kind of pickpocket style when he dispossesses opposition strikers. But it's beautiful. See, when Bongani Zungu signed for us, and his first kind of cameo, he played the second half against Hamilton Accies at the 8-0 game, and he's leathering the balls into the far corner, and he's hunting stuff down, and he looks all action. I'm thinking, this guy's going to take us up another level, Zungu. He's come for Ligue 1. He's, the only reason the ball's only connecting is because we're players only ready. We're going to have to step up again. This is fantastic, and it's just a classic kind of silly old man thing, the way I'm observing that. Steve Davis, like Ryan Jack, doesn't have to be all action. He's doing so much more than the likes of no harm to Zungu. We've kind of found out like it was just inaccurate passing, and he's having to be all action because it takes him longer to do what Stephen Davis does with the flick of a hip, the kind of the wee twist and turn, and he makes it look so easy. And at times, it makes it look so easy. At times, you can actually forget what you can forget how much he's contributing to us. But he's invaluable, and we need him around because we're going to obviously make signings in the summer, but you need him and McGregor to bring on to get them into the Rangers way of doing things when they arrive. So on and off the field, just fantastic. And congratulations to him because it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. I mean, in this day and age, it's 126 caps. He's been playing for Northern Ireland the same amount of time that my son's been alive. You know what I mean? And my son's 16, and his next birthday. You know what I mean? My son was born in 2005, the same year he got his first cap. It's incredible. It's an incredible level of consistency, and I mean, huge congratulations to him, and he thoroughly deserves it. Right, Alex, before we go on to Sunday's game, I need to highlight the Rangers Picks game. So if you want the opportunity to win a share of £1,000, log on to Rangers Picks and play the Rangers Pick'ems game. Log on to www.rangerspicks.com. Complete a series of questions about the game on Sunday, how many corners we'll get, free kicks, stuff like that. If you get enough of those right, then you're in with the opportunity of winning a share of £1,000. You must be over 18 to play, guys. Terms and conditions apply, and please always remember to play responsibly. Right, Alex, that's out the road. So, excuse me. On to Sunday's game. First thing I feel I need to highlight. It's a real bugbear of mine. I only found this out last week. Because there's not been Rangers for a couple of weeks, I've kind of forgot what the fixtures were and all that kind of thing. So I logged on a couple of days ago to find out what was happening, and I found out this game on Sundays on Premier Sports. Now, the first thing that pisses me off about that is they're not that reliable. Experience tells me that they're not that great a broadcaster. Their production values are not the highest. I would say that Frankie's probably better in his production values in this show than what Premier Sports give us. And also, it's another $12.99 or whatever it is. It's another subscription that supporters need to sign up to. So, why? I don't understand why the football governing bodies that sell all the rights to these things to different broadcasters. Why can they not just make it as simple as possible for supporters just to subscribe to a sports channel and know that, whether it's the Scottish Cup, the Betfred Cup, or the league, they're going to get them there. But it's not like that. You need to subscribe to Sky Sports for the league games. You need to subscribe to BT Sport for the Europa League games, and now we need to subscribe to Premier Sport for the Scottish Cup. It's just an absolute farce. Plus, we need to pay whatever we're paying for season tickets when we're not even getting in this season.
Plus, we used to have to pay to Setanta as well. Remember them?
Yeah, they lasted a while.
I know. Is the Inverness Ross County is that on the Beeb tonight? I think some of them have been shown in the Beeb. I don't know, BBC.
It'll never be the Rangers games will never be on the Beeb.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like the reason they're splitting the games, and the reason that Premier Sport are getting Rangers and Celtic is because that's where the money is. Everything else a kind of token gesture to the public. In times of COVID, being able to see a bit of football, but I think the thing for me is I do have Premier Sport. Classic thing. Paid my tenner for it for a month and then forgot to cancel it. Just couldn't be bothered, and it does have a lot of Spanish football and what have you. I would end up, I could watch it all day probably, but I'm a bit strange that way. I think for most folk. The thing for most Rangers fans is we haven't really needed Premier Sport. Talking about our form in the cups, over the last 4 years. We've not really needed it, you know.
Well, but
we've been on it. We have been on it, mate. Aye,
because they also had the qualifying for the Europa.
Yes.
So you know, I get it, and then when it moved on to the actual group stages, I cancelled my Premier Sports thing. That's it. I don't need it again.
Aye.
And then literally like 3-4 months later, you're like, "You kidding me on? I've got to subscribe to this thing again." You know what I mean?
Was the Viola Cup at the beginning of the season? That was on.
Yeah, Premier. I'm sure that was on it as well. Yeah,
and that was like I just remember the picture for both the games it was like, you know, the old Queen Bohemian Rhapsody video. You know, the beginnings of pop videos when they kind of, you know, the fade in, fade out pictures. It was you know, it was like watching them in Star Trek. They were starting to get transported off the Starship Enterprise to another planet. It was kind of I couldn't quite see them, and there was some game it just conked it altogether.
Yeah,
you know,
the away games in Europe are terrible. The broadcast constantly cut out. You know, you go onto Twitter and all you see is folks saying, "Well, I can't see the game," and it's farcical. You know what I mean? And that's what frustrates me. Why are we dealing with these broadcasters whose record in this is so poor?
I know. I think I've got to the point where if you're not giving up, you know, you have to be. It's like because they know they don't have to treat you as a customer, because you're more than that. They know they've got you because you're addicted to the football.
Yeah.
It's an extension of the same thing that happens when you're watching like the Champions League on Sky, or it used to be on Sky, you know, on BT Sport now. All the adverts and a lot of the actual coverage itself, it's all kind of lowest common denominator stuff, because they know they've got the likes of you and me, you know, the folk watching this show tonight. They know they've got us. They don't have to bother about, you know, advertising to us. It's the guys who, you know, they think football is just Man U versus Chelsea and, you know, the World Cup, England win it every year. You know, that's who they're trying to appeal to. Yeah. People who actually just love the game. You know, we're just, as you say, we're left going about scraping the bar, just trying to find out where's the game on. All right, we'll give them our money. You know, because in principle terms, you shouldn't be paying the money to Premier Sport if they can't provide proper service. But if that means you miss the game, you're going to give them the money. You know, and that's why club television. I know you've had problems with Rangers TV. We've all had problems with Rangers TV this season to various extents, but that's why club television is it's inevitable. I think it's going to end up just kind of taking over.
They've also been very sneaky in how they're doing it this time, because I went on the website today. I've not subscribed yet, but I'll probably do it tonight or tomorrow. You know, it's $10.99, but if you take the $10.99 option, you have to take it for a minimum of 6 months.
Is that right? Aye.
If you want to take an option where you can just cancel it at any time, it's $12.99. So they're obviously wising up to the fact that supporters are subscribing to it, and then the minute their team gets papped to it, they're unsubscribing. So they're offering a cheaper version, but you have to subscribe for a longer period of time. And they just strike me as a kind of, they're almost like the Barras broadcasters. You know what I mean? They're so dodgy, and I just don't get it. I just don't think Scottish football should be dealing with them at all. No. And it pisses me off that you know, so many different tournaments are sold to so many different broadcasters, and supporters have to subscribe to all these. I just think it's poor. But anyway, that's me. I just wanted to vent my spleen on that. On to the sort of injury situation, Alex. Gary McAllister took the press conference today. You know, he's sort of saying Tavernier, excuse me, he's back training on grass. You know, he's still training alone, but he's on the grass and running and stuff like that. So he's coming on. But I kind of wanted to talk about Ryan Jack. Revealed today that he's travelled down to London to see a specialist, waiting on results. I think he posted something on Instagram today, you know, showing his jersey with the number 8 at the back, saying he's desperate to get back. And I'm becoming quite concerned about this. It just seems to be something that's not improving. If anything, it's going the other way.
It's been a theme of the season, hasn't it? And it is just one of you can't help doing it. I remember players like Stephen Naismith, you know, who's a guy I loved at Rangers. We've had a fair share of players down the years who just are injured, you know, and you only get them back for a certain amount of time. And we all know maybe Kamar Roof, there's a bit of a problem with him there too, you know, just one of these guys that just happens to be injury prone. And with Ryan Jack, it's just. So you always got to be careful when you're talking like this. It make it sound like we don't appreciate Ryan. I don't mean that in any way, because the reason we're so worried is because he's such a bloody great player. You know, he's phenomenal for us. You know, he's. I think when Steve Davis and Ryan Jack get together, you it's absolutely phenomenal. They're the real engine room of when we start performing quite spectacularly, especially in Europe. Remember the Benfica game. Even Porto last season, you're under a wee bit of pressure, and then the two of them just get the ball and they start doing the wee 1-2s, and it just gets the whole team going. That gets us into a rhythm.
Yeah,
and I think what they do together really appeals to Michael Beale and Steve Gerrard's kind of blueprint for this team. But he's no coming back as quickly as we want him to. He's injured for longer than we were expecting.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's me. The amount of games you're getting out are shrinking, and the period that he's out for is starting to extend. It's going the other way. He's always been. I think it's myself and John McCallum that have spoken about this before. But he's always been a sort of in for 6 or 7, out for 3 type of player. But the amount of games you're getting out of him has gone down, and the amount of games that he's out for is extending. And it seems I'm becoming quite concerned about it. It seems to be getting worse.
It was a game against Ross County. He come back, game at Ibrox, and he just curls one into the bottom corner straight away. He scores a cracking goal straight away. The absolute perler he scores against Kilmarnock, only goal of the game. We're getting towards a kind of title running, absolutely vital. And Scotland as well. Scotland are missing them as well. I know that's not a concern.
I'm not bothered about that.
I know, mate. I know. I think 75% to 90% of the Rangers supporters isn't bothered about that, and it's getting to the stage where Scotland can look after themselves, because we need Ryan Jack fit for us first and foremost. We don't want him risking himself anywhere else. But it's becoming a concern when it's never properly kind of diagnosed either. In the press conferences, it's kind of, he's a bit longer than we thought. He's going to come back a bit later than we thought, and he's going to see a specialist. You can't help putting 2 and 2 together and just generally being worried for the guy if we're ever going to see him. I certainly hope so. I certainly hope, but it just tends to be, maybe it's confirmation bias. You're just kind of going on past experiences. But it tends to be when you start seeing a player doing this, that's just the story for the rest of his career. Yeah, that's what I think. Because
it's been an ongoing issue, but it seems to be an ongoing issue that's deteriorating. It's getting worse, and the minute you hear specialists, and as you say, the minute they're being a bit vague in press conferences, it's like going to the doctor and he says that's a virus. You know what I mean? You're like, can you be a bit more specific with that? That's a virus. It'll fix itself when it fixes itself. And it starts to feel like that. I don't know if maybe Rangers know a wee bit more than they're letting on. I don't know, but it is starting to concern me, because he's been so good for us, and it's a shame that this year, of all the years that he's been here, is the one that's affected him the most.
Well, he's in the same bracket, isn't he, as Alfie and as one of the guys who've been taking a pounding. We always knew they were class. Maybe not so much with Tav. Tav's had to come back and beat the critics as well, but he's one of the guys who's taking a bit of pounding with a team who maybe round about him wasn't good enough to show his talents in the starkest relief, the best relief. So he's one of the guys that really deserves to be taken in the glory right now. So we all wish him all the best, because he's a guy that we love and we need.
Right, Cove Rangers, onto them. Sitting second in League One at the moment, doing quite well, but obviously their season's been seriously curtailed with COVID and all that kind of thing, so I think they've only played 14 games, but they're sitting second, managed by our old friend, Mr. Hartley, a really nice guy, him, always liked him. But I know they're League One, and, we should win comfortably, but I think we only need to look at what happened to Hearts in the previous round against Brora. I don't think Rangers should be taking the foot off here and viewing this lightly. We have to have a professional attitude, because as much as I don't like Hartley, he's done okay at management, and he seems to be getting the best out of this mob at the moment.
Well, this is the game, mate. This is the game where usually we start. It all starts going downhill. First
we're already champions, so
exactly. I'm needing to get my head around it. It's the body clocks out. It's like the clocks going forward. You're kind of, I missed that hour's sleep last week, and it's the same now. I keep thinking, first round of the Scottish Cup. Oh no, we've won the title. It's all right. Don't need to panic about that. Usually we come back. We've had a massive win against Celtic at New Year. We've put ourselves in a good place to challenge for the title, and we go to Dubai. And we come back, and it's a lower league team in the Scottish Cup. We only beat Cowdenbeath. I think the game against Cowdenbeath was postponed in Stevie G's first season, and then we beat them 3-1. And you're thinking, that's fine. They're just, they're not going to try their hardest against Cowdenbeath. And the same Stranraer last season. We played them, it was like Friday night kick-off at Ibrox. Oh, Nathan Patterson's a good game. We only beat them 2-0, but they were kind of. I think Cowdenbeath are actually League Two, and Stranraer were kind of League Two material at the bottom of League One. But it never really kicked on. But now it's just funny. That reminded me of the days. We're playing a league, and they're doing well. They're practically a championship side. Cove, they're right up there. That was a cracking couple of results for them during the week. They won against Airdrie, and also Falkirk, who are above them. They dropped points, and Thistle dropped points as well, home to Forfar. So they're in a really solid position just to go.
They're not that far behind Falkirk. They're sitting second, but I think they're only maybe 2 or 3 points behind. But yeah, I mean, they're playing well, and I do think. I mean, obviously, the Rangers are strong favourites here, but someone who remembers Hamilton, you know what I mean, and also remembering sort of Inverness Cali stuff with Celtic and the Hearts one. I mean, I was at the Brora game. I was covering it from a Camelin perspective. I was only at one of the games. They tried to play it 3 or 4 times, and the weather just kept on knocking it off because it was in sort of Christmas time and the park was frozen and then it was flooded and all that kind of thing. And the game I went to got called off at half time. It was farcical. And don't get me wrong, they were probably slightly the stronger team against Camelin, but Camelin Juniors in the game that did get finished that put Brora through, Camelin Juniors were winning with like 20 minutes to go, and then they conceded an equaliser, and then a couple of minutes later they got a man sent off, and the whole thing just crumbled. You know what I mean? So there was nothing looking at Brora to think they're going to beat Hearts. You know what I mean? There was absolutely no sign of that. And so I do think, we're strong favourites, but we have to be wary, and you have to be mindful of other results that have happened in this competition.
Aye, well, I mean, Hearts obviously losing the Scottish Cup final on penalties just a few months previously.
A final they should have won.
Yes, aye. And Brora have been pushing Cove for a couple of years in the Highland League. Brora should have come up last season, but because of the COVID curtailing the season, Highland League didn't put forward a team, or they couldn't put forward a team for the playoff. And I think Brora have lost the playoffs as well before, so they're kind of. You got to think Brora, if they had come up, could possibly be up there challenging, because they're one of these go-ahead clubs like Cove. I've only seen Cove Rangers once, and it was 20 years ago, and it was at Peterhead, and it was a season. It was in the Scottish Cup, and it was just I was doing my kind of anorak thing of I wanted to go and see every league ground in Scotland. Little did I know I would get a chance to do that. Watching Rangers in a few years' time. But at that point, I thought, right, I'll go up here. It was my mate stayed in Aberdeen at the time, and him and his dad just took us along, drove us up to Peterhead, and Peterhead had just gone up. They'd just gone into the league. Sorry, they'd just been elected into the bottom tier of the league. And Cove, in one of the games, you think, it's a lovely wee game between two Highland League teams. What a bitter atmosphere! The bitterness there, and nobody's wearing colours, and it's no casuals. It's not like the ICF and all that. This is just a bunch of like oil workers with a donkey jackets on, and prison officers who Peterhead and all that off duty, and just looking to rattle somebody. And my mate and his dad were kind of clapping. Oh, that's great sporting play. No, but they were clapping each team every time they did something, and I'm like, I knew who I was standing next to. No, boys, don't just. It was what an atmosphere. So there was real. Cove wanted to come up, and they're a kind of go-ahead club. I think I was reading up on them. They're like 100 years old next year, but it's only 1985 that they actually joined the Highland League. I think they were like amateurs for most of their history. Then they joined the juniors, I think, for a year in the mid '80s, and then they went straight to the Highland League. A bit like kind of Celtic Hearts that way. They're suddenly they just wanted to go. They won the Highland League a few times, and then they've got a new stadium now, and that's them. They mean business. This is basically they're going for their 4th title, because they won 2 Highland Leagues in the trot. Failed at the playoff to take up into the league, and they won. They get given the league title last season, League 2, and that's them. So, they're going for it. They're on the up. And this kind of. I keep talking about Rangers this season, how we've been so fantastic. I'm waiting for one big performance, one big kind of game where we just go and we just go out there and kind of celebrate how great we've been. Maybe like tank Celtic for nothing at Ibrox or something like that. I was maybe expecting it in the Europa League, or get a big name in Europa League, maybe beat Man U or something, just a kind of celebration. Yeah. But Cove will be the same, and they'll see us as a potential, to kind of crown where they've come from.
Well, they've got nothing to lose, really, have they? I mean, it's a free hit for them.
That's
what I mean?
That's it. But we've got to win the Scottish Cup, mate. We need. It's been too long, and I hope that's what Stevie G's using that to keep the season going.
Well, speaking of good results in the Scottish Cup, Inverness Cali are 3-1 up now, just a few minutes ago. So a good result for Neil McCann. Good on him. Quite like Neil McCann. Good
yes.
guy. You know, one of the good guys.
Yes.
So yeah, good. Well done to him. Now, in terms of the team selection on Sunday, Alex, you know, obviously the title's won. Lower league opposition. Maybe a wee chance to give some of the fringe players some game time. I think Stephen Gerrard's already hinted at that. Someone I'd like to see, he was revealed out today for the press conference. Scott Wright, I think I would like to see him starting on Sunday.
Yeah, he's good, wasn't he? I thought he was good. He's
impressed me. He's impressed me in everything he's done since he's came to the club.
Yes, he's been a kind of theme of the pods where like we didn't really know anything about him. We couldn't really, despite him, you know, playing for Aberdeen, we hadn't really been watching him that heavily. We don't really know a lot about this guy that we're signing. And then anytime he's come on, he's been very impressive. And maybe it's a bit, you know, you're a bit Rangers biased. You know, you're seeing things that maybe aren't there. But in a press conference, it's a bit like with Kamar Roof, where he's interviewed by somebody. Yes, he's trying to get the answer in before the interviewers finish the question. You're thinking, that's because he's all go. You know, Kamar's up for it all the time, constantly. And Scott Wright almost speaks the way he plays. He's incisive, you know, and he's very courteous. And he handled. There's a couple of wee questions in there about, you know, are we now favourites for the Scottish Cup? So he's supposed to go ahead and say, "Oh, aye, absolutely," and that's the headlines tomorrow. Rangers think they should win the Scottish Cup. Do you think they But he handled it to perfection. You know, just saying, "No, well, you're a club this size, you should be winning it." And it's like it's just that kind of perfect Stephen Gerrard type answer of being diplomatic, but at the same time, total steel, total desire to win.
Answering the question without answering it, really.
The wee bit about the ex-Aberdeen players at Cove as well. The Aberdeen players at Cove. You know, he's not having any kind of wind-up talk there, but you can see in his eyes that he's going to go out there and do what he can. And I think we're just waiting for the game where Scott Wright officially arrives. And maybe Cove Rangers, it won't prove anything greatly, but we like to see him get a few goals under his belt, you know. And it's a few other starters in 6:30 on Sunday night, which is a horrendous time for a kick-off. But there's been
on Premier Sports, everything about it is appealing, isn't it? You know what I mean?
I know. But there's a few boys due a chance, you know. But just as long as it's a difficult one because we've been away, you know, for a wee while now. You know, we've been away for well over a week, so there might be guys who want to get up to speed. At the same time, maybe Stephen Davis is needing a bit of a rest. You know, playing a couple of internationals in a week, a lot of emotion around about him as well. So Glenn Kamara as well, playing games for Finland, a lot of attention on him too. And maybe he could do with a break, but maybe we need him just to make sure. So it'll be interesting to see who actually go with on Sunday. Yeah,
because I mean, I think we're all aware of what happened when we diluted the quality of the team against St Mirren in the Betfred Cup. You know, there was just a feeling that maybe Stevie G tinkered a wee bit too much that night. But I mean, I know it's Cove and you know they're League One, but yeah, I would still like to see one or two get an opportunity, and especially Scott Wright. I would like to see him come in. Final point. Tonight, Alex, before we finish up, I noticed that a couple of things you were putting out on Twitter through the week there about the Rangers Hearts game, the 5-1 game, the cup final, and you've just sort of alluded there that you know it's been far too long, and it has been far too long. And the first time, my first Scottish Cup final was 1989, the Joe Miller one, and the most ironic thing about that day was the guy who set up Joe Miller, Gary Stevens, was by far the best player in the park. He had an absolutely outstanding game. He didn't deserve to be in the losing team. That was my first Scottish Cup final. The first time I saw us win it was against Airdrie, and I think we'd went 9 years at the time without winning it. And I mean, 11. Now it's 12. Was it 11? Yeah. So
81 to 92.
92. Yeah, 11 years. So we're back in that territory again. And I was in the Airdrie end that day. I could only get a ticket for the Airdrie end, and I had this. You know, I was walking in, I had a denim shirt on, no colours, but I had a Rangers shirt underneath my shirt, my denim shirt. And a copper caught sight of it, and he's like, "Right, you're not getting in, son." And I was like, "Oh, come on, you've got to let me in. You know, if we're going to win the cup for the first time in 11 years, you need to let me in." And he's like, "No, on your way." And I pleaded, and he eventually sort of gave in and let me in. And see, when I got in, the place was full of Rangers fans, the odd scarf. So I was like, what was that all about? You know what I mean? Just raging. But anyway, the point I'm sort of getting to is we're in that same territory now. It's been so long since we've won the Scottish Cup. You know, 2009, that game against Falkirk, that Scott Arfield played in. we need to win it. It seems to be we had the hoodoo all those years ago back in the 20s or whatever it was. It does seem to be a trophy that every now and again we go through a period of not winning it, and it would be good to end that this year.
Well, that's at no point in my life. And by the way, any Celtic fans out there that are watching this, I mean, know they like to pay attention to Rangers stuff. They'll be in no way surprised to hear that the entire Airdrie support was supporting Rangers. That's they've always said that about Airdrie. And they hadn't won the Scottish Cup. Was it 1924? I think Airdrie won the Scottish Cup. So yeah, it's a big day for them as well. But it's we should be winning this. Stephen Gerrard seems to have done things backwards since he arrived. You're supposed to win the League Cup, maybe. Yeah. You're supposed to win the Scottish Cup next, and then you go for the league, and then eventually we're kind of dominating Celtic. Well, the first thing he did was dominate Celtic, in Old Firm derbies, and it wouldn't surprise me this season if we actually ended up winning a European trophy before we won a cup. The way Stevie G was going. But no, I'm all about 34 now, mate. It was 55 has been, that's done, 55 is all over. 34 league games unbeaten we are, and we're now going for our 34th Scottish Cup. And you're absolutely right what you're saying. Never in our lifetime, because it's never in my lifetime, and I'm not 44 by the way, never in my lifetime have we been ahead of Celtic in Scottish Cup wins. I think we drew level with them 2002, 2003. And then they won it 2004, and that's, if you just, the Wikipedia page, I would never recommend Wikipedia as a kind of definite source, but you should get on it and check it, because it actually does. It tells you how many times in brackets the team has won it when they win it any year. It gives you a list of finals, right. And I think it is basically Celtic won the Scottish Cup before us, despite being formed, like 14 years after the Scottish Cup started. And I think we've been ahead of them like twice. The last time was 1966, and every time we nick ahead of them in terms of Scottish Cup wins, they won it the following year. Yeah. So we're also we stopped the 10 this year. Now we're trying to stop the 5. Because 4 Scottish Cups. Now that was actually a record by Celtic last season. Nobody's ever won the Scottish Cup 4 years in a row. Nobody's won it 3 years in a row 3 times like Rangers have. But again, same thing as all that nonsense. It's not about stopping them. It's about time Rangers were actually winning the Scottish Cup. And it's a strange thing. It's a strange thing, because I actually feel in some way not being at the Scottish Cup final, that Hampden being empty if we actually get to the Scottish Cup final is somehow kind of weirder, even though we get less of an allocation for Scottish Cups. It's somehow that's a game that really needs fans, because it's a kind of carnival. It's a kind of celebration, Well, it should be, Yeah, it was a carnival of sorts the last time you were there.
I was there that day. See the minute they came on the park, I knew. I just thought, this is not ending well. And my mate, I was his best man. He was my best mate for many a year. But he's immigrated to Australia, and don't really get the odd text now and again. But he's living his life, and I'm living mine. And the minute the Hibs fans came on, my phone went, and I looked at it, and it was basically a text for him in Australia watching it live, and it just said, "Get the fuck out of there," because I think everyone knew, this is not going to end well. You know what I mean? And it didn't. You know what I mean? But I think you're right. I think we're long overdue in terms of winning it, and beating Cove on Sunday would be a good start to it. So looking at time there, Alex, I think that's us. I think we've covered pretty much everything. So a big thanks to Alex. Excuse me, terrible cough tonight. It's not COVID related, I promise. It's more asthma related. So a big thanks to Alex and his contribution there. Great stuff as always. Show out on Sunday night. It'll be. I'm glad I'm not hosting, because it'll be a bit tight to pull the agenda together, because the game will just be finishing and we'll be live on air at 9:30. So we'll have a show on Sunday. It's Ross that's hosting, with Dougie and myself as guests. In the meantime, get yourself onto the Gersnet website and forums at www.gersnet.co.uk. In the meantime, guys, as I say always in these strange times, stay safe, and until next time, bye for now.